Hi, welcome back to the Scent Advocate. Tonight we're talking about haunting fragrances. These fragrances have an air about them, something unique, interesting, a little bit dangerous, maybe ethereal, transportive. It depends on the fragrance. So before we jump in, tonight's beverage is a rain juice. I'm trying to stay healthy. I'm 53 now, and these are really good, actually. They're good, They're not transporting me anywhere, they're not haunting me in a positive way, but they're good, They're good for me. Yeah. Okay, so let's get into the fragrances. The first haunting fragrance I want to talk about is Eucalyptus 20 by Labo. This fragrance I always found to be very complex, far more than the name implies. And I think that's generally the case with Labo fragrances. But this one in particular, I really don't get much eucalyptus in this. So let me just tell you, this is a 50 ml. It's an eau de parfum. It goes for about $240, and it's a 2025 release, so relatively new. Let me know in the comments if you tried this. If so, what do you think of it? And the notes in this are pretty straightforward. Olibanum, cedar, eucalyptus, balsam, thyme, hyssop, labdanum, and musk. I get a lot of cedar and balsam in here. Olibanum and labdanum, definitely. I think the hyssop and the balsam kind of amplify what eucalyptus I do get, making it more of an earthy fragrance, makes it a lot more powerful than old eucalyptus scent profiles. I remember when I was a kid, my mother had eucalyptus, dried out eucalyptus in a vase. And it always smelled a certain way. And it was very clean, very kind of dry, pleasant. I loved it. It definitely made the house fragrant, and it was very positive. And it was pretty common. Lots of households, back in the 80s, used to have that going on. But this doesn't smell like this. This is cool and refreshing. Makes me think of, kind of the feeling you get at a high altitude, emerging from, kind of the dusty foothills as you're hiking up a mountain and you're getting to the coniferous part of the tree line, the beginning of the tree line. And it's got that kind of balsamic feel to it, but I wouldn't call this eucalyptus. That isn't what I would have named this, right? I don't think it's properly descriptive. What makes this haunting for me is that journey up the mountain, that hike up the mountain, the mystery that comes once you cross into the forested area. So in Utah, and also in Idaho, and all over the Mountain West, really, in my experience at least, there was a just a kind of a landscape, and you would hike up a mountain, and it started out, kind of dry, dusty, high deserty. There were lots of kind of shrub-like trees like scrub oak and things like that. And then there was the tree line, and it instantly got cool. It instantly gave you shade and got darker. And there was an unmistakable smell of earth and animal. Without question, you knew you weren't alone. And when you were in there, you didn't know what was going to pop out from, further down the trail. Very often, people would run into moose, things like that. They had lions. I never really saw much. I wish I had a great story about, these incredible animals I saw, but I really didn't. But you could smell them. And it definitely created a, like the hairs on your arms stood up, you were a little more alert. The animal in us, kind of came out, and we became hyper aware of our surroundings because there was that element of danger. And this smell reminds me of that experience. And so it's haunting. And it is Eucalyptus 20 by Labo. Moving on, Oh Unknown by Imaginary Authors. What a fragrance. So the nose behind this, by the way, is Josh Meyer. This is a 50 ml. It would have gone for $115 approximately. It's an EDP, and it's a 2017 release. I believe this fragrance has been discontinued. I cannot imagine why they did that. I believe this is pretty popular. It is a very pleasing fragrance. It's got, right on the bottle, black tea, lapsang, souchong tincture, orris butter, Kyoto moss, musk balsam, sandalwood, and more. There are multiple question marks after that. This is smoky with the black tea and the orris. There's an earthiness of the moss and the softness of the sandalwood. Creates kind of a destination that maybe only exists in your mind, a place that doesn't exist in the physical world. You definitely get that haunting sensation. And this place, this place that only exists in your mind or in your dreams. It's not all good, it's not all bad. Much like life itself, there are ups and downs, ebbs and flows, and shifts. And for me, this makes me think of a couple of recurring dreams I have. And they always involve my late grandparents' house for some reason. Anyway, do you ever have recurring dreams? Is it the same? And then what haunts me is this house was sold after they passed on. And my whole family loved this house. It was a great house in Brooklyn, and I miss it all the time. I miss them every single day, and I think that's just part of the feeling. And the powdery orris makes me think of fragrances my grandmother wore. Maybe what's haunting me about this fragrance too is the fact that you can't get it anymore. I mean, that's a sin, let me tell you. This stuff is gorgeous, and I am so glad I got a bottle. Have you ever tried this? Am I wrong about it being discontinued? I don't think so. I looked on the website. I didn't see it for sale. But it does have a haunting, dreamlike quality to it. And for me, it's a pretty profound experience. I absolutely love it. I also think this is a very easy reach. It goes with everything. Absolutely wonderful. It is Oh Unknown by Imaginary Authors. There we go. Oh, come on now. There we go. Beautiful artwork on the sticker too. Okay, moving on. We've got a little bit of a cheat, but I have ordered a full bottle. This is Eau Lente by Diptyque. Here. By the way, this is from Scent Split. I love Scent Split. This is a 5 ml. I can't remember how much I paid for it, but the full bottle, 100 ml Eau de Toilette, costs $195 on the website. It is a 1986 release. Is that right? Is my research correct? Can this be? The noses behind this are Desmond Knox Leet and Serge Kalugin. The notes in this are clove, cinnamon, opopanax, and tangerine. This is smoky and citrus with resin and spices for me, yet cool with enough citrus and the lightness of the formulation to make it a great choice for a summer evening into a fall evening fragrance. Very astute, very polished, very put together. What I love about this and what makes this a little bit haunting for me is the incense. There's definitely a hint of incense in this, and it's unmistakable. It's not so much a church incense, but it's a burning resin incense, and that, you know, has an unmistakably mysterious quality for me, and, you know, a solemnity that befalls my mood. Very serious, hauntingly so. And yet, I think this would be something of an easy reach. There's almost a green quality to it because of the tangerine. The incense is tempered by the brightness of the citrus, and I think that makes it really unique. And I'm really glad I moved forward with a full bottle. This is Eau Lente by Diptyque. Moving on, we have from one of my all-time favorite perfume houses. It is Fugue by Ikiryo. You can see the black wax sealing the bottle that I absolutely love, and the beautiful artwork on there. So this fragrance is 70 ml. It goes for about $150. It is a 2017 release, and I believe it's an EDP. The nose behind this, of course, Vincent of Dream House. The notes in here are patchouli, sugar beet, benzoin, honeysuckle, blackcurrant, pineapple, rum, and incense. Resinous, a little spicy. It's cool, it's haunting, dark, and yet universally pleasing. Vincent's story behind this fragrance goes that there's this chemist, and he's creating a base for an incense. And I'm improvising a little bit here. And he's so overwhelmed by the fragrance, and it is overwhelmingly beautiful, that he slips into a fugue state. He disassociates, and all of a sudden, he goes into a dream world, and he imagines a whole separate existence and life, or he experiences it really. And that is a story completely befitting the way this smells. Haunting, ethereal, otherworldly, spicy, resinous, a little bit boozy, just a hint of it. And what it does is it gives you a sense of safety in letting go of what is right in front of you and daring to imagine something else. It makes you ask yourself, where do you want to go? Where would you go if your mind could really take you somewhere else and you could control it? What would you do? Gorgeous stuff. Fugue by Ikiryo. A mind trip for sure. Next haunting fragrance is Boy by Chanel. Whoops, there we go. This is from the Les Exclusives collection, of course. This is a 2016 EDP. It is 75 ml and it goes for $335. Olivier Polge is the nose behind this. The notes in this are lavender, grapefruit, lemon, geranium, orange blossom, rose, musk, heliotrope, sandalwood, vanilla, moss, and coumarin. If you don't know the story, Mademoiselle Chanel was in love with a man named Arthur Boy Capel. He was an English polo player, pardon me, a British polo player. I often will say English instead of British. My mistake, I apologize. I'm working on it. Boy had a style, liberated elegance, and that is what this fragrance is supposed to embody. For me, this is haunting because their love was somewhat clandestine. Boy was married, and yet he had a long-term affair with Coco Chanel, very much encouraging her in her career endeavors. She named she didn't. A handbag was named after him, the Boy bag. This fragrance, just a whole lot of influence on the artistry of the House of Chanel. This fragrance also has a lavender in it of such quality, and it is so approachable that I can't get enough. I always want more, and therefore I tend to overspray it and choke out those around me, because lavender can be pretty powerful stuff, and in this fragrance, indeed it is. But I can never quite get enough, and that longing for something that you'll never quite attain, that chase you'll never win, that man she wanted that she could never marry, assuming of course she wanted to marry him. I don't know that she did. Maybe this was a relationship satisfactory to all involved, but in my mind I don't imagine it that way. And so the haunting quality is the longing that this represents, that the name represents, and the experience of wanting more of something and never quite getting enough. And that is what Boy represents to me. Remarkable stuff. If you don't like lavender, definitely test this first. The last fragrance is a classic, and it is from the House of Guerlain. It has an amazing story behind it, a haunting story, and I think the fragrance is reflective of that haunting story. Can you guess what it is? Mitsouko. This is an EDP. I have heard that the EDT in present-day formulations is wonderful. I've heard a lot of people say it is superior to the EDP. I don't know that it was a mistake. I made the choice to go with the stronger formulation, realizing that it had, at least my research indicates, it had been reformulated and as a result, potentially lighter than the original, and I wanted as much of a powerful fragrance as I could get with today's available choices. So this is what I got, the EDP. The nose behind this, of course, is Jacques Guerlain. This was released originally in 1919. This fragrance is over 100 years old. This bottle, this EDP, 75 ml, goes for about $160, but I believe you might be able to get it on discount sites for a little bit less. I'm not positive. The notes are bergamot, jasmine, rose, peach, ylang ylang, lilac, oak moss, spices, cinnamon, vetiver, and amber. This is haunting because, well, it is, the fragrance alone has a haunting quality to it. It is a classic chypre. And that vintage quality in and of itself has, you know, a haunting allure to it. There's an earthiness, unmistakably so, from the oak moss. There's a juiciness from that hint of peach, and it's just a hint. It's more like a peach skin, a pêche de peau, a peau de pêche, peau de pêche. Yeah, peau de pêche. But what's most interesting about this fragrance is the connotation with the name. Mitsouko was a character, is a character in a book, and she was meant to embody strength in the face of tragedy, restraint in a time of uncertainty, dignified disposition and behavior despite an impious desire. Mitsouko, in the book The Battle by Claude Farrère, was married to a Japanese naval officer, but was in love secretly with a British officer in the novel. And there's a war going on, and she's in the center of this war, this kind of love triangle situation, and everything is spinning around her like a tornado, and she stands dignified and solemn and right in the center of all of it. And that's the kind of restraint I'm talking about, regardless of how in your face this fragrance is. It is still subdued in its posture. And I think it perfectly embodies the haunting dynamic of the novel and the character for which it is named, Mitsouko. Have you tried it? If you haven't, you really should. All right, that is it for this evening. Let me know in the comments if you agree that these are incredibly haunting scents. Did I miss any? What are your favorite haunting scents? Should I make a part 2? I definitely have quite a few that are transportive. Yeah, this was a tough list to assemble because there are so many that could fit in this category. If you are not a subscriber to the channel, please consider subscribing. If you enjoyed the video, give me a thumbs up, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.